Alright, y'all. So recently I noticed there is a little bit of confusion about what side am I on here. I thought that directly being pro-left and pro-leftist politics and mostly attacking right-wing people and only attacking left-wing people from a left-wing perspective was enough, but I guess for some people, the conservatives that for some reason watch me, I guess for some people it's not enough. So today we're going to be taking the political compass test. Now, I have some personal grievances with this test, as in, I don't believe you can be right-wing and libertarian, and I don't believe you can be left-wing and authoritarian. I believe tankies are far-right just as Nazis are far-right, and they're both authoritarian. I believe that a true libertarian would be a far-left person, and that is what I would consider myself, a far-left lowercase l libertarian. Basically, I believe that people should be allowed to live their lives and be given access to the systems on which they make their lives better. So as an example, let's say healthcare. I believe that a person needs healthcare to live their life, obviously, and I believe that a person should be given access to healthcare either through tax or completely free just because they are alive. It is a human right as virtue of them being human. That is basically a rundown of what I believe, and I think that my political compass results are gonna reflect this. But anyways, let's get right into it. Alright, y'all. So here we are. I got the political compass test pulled up. Now, I've already said I've got some personal grievances with it. It is what it is, but this is the most popular way of measuring where your politics are. I think there are better ones out there, like what it is, like the 8 polls thing. However, this is the most popular. That's just how it is. So I'm gonna take this one. So let's go. Question 1. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations. This is a strong agree for me. I really don't see how anyone could hit disagree on this. Which would you rather have? A bunch of greedy ass companies running the world and they're self-interested, or would you rather have a bunch of greedy ass companies running the world and maybe they care about you a little bit? One of these outcomes seems a little better than the other, and if we're under the assumption that economic globalization is inevitable, then I just really think there's only one obvious answer here. I'll always support my country, whether it's right or wrong. Strongly disagree. I think this is incredibly stupid. I think nationalism is dumb. However, it is understandable for some people in certain situations, I guess. Nationalism is stupid but understandable. I can see why post 9/11 America was so strongly nationalist. However, I've never really had an event like that for myself. I've had throughout my lifetime the exact opposite of that happen. I've seen the incompetency of my country with COVID, stuff like that. So I think that's really shaped me into an anti-nationalist. I'm neutral towards America. If they do something good, I'll be yay. If they do something bad, which is most of the time, I'll just go boo. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I'm gonna hit agree. The reason I don't hit strongly agree, just because okay, let me word this. The reason I don't hit strongly agree is because I can understand nationalism, I guess. It's stupid. However, actually, you know what? Now that I'm talking myself through this, I'm gonna hit strongly agree. It's stupid to root for a country in a geopolitical thing. Obviously I feel differently about sports, but that's sports. So very different seriousness here. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Strongly disagree. I'm not a white supremacist. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm gonna hit a not strong disagree. I'm gonna hit just normal disagree. I do think there are times where this tenet is useful. However, let's look at World War II. the enemy of Hitler was people like Churchill and Stalin, and also us. I do not think Churchill and Stalin were good people. I think they were quite bad people, obviously. I think Hitler was a lot worse than Churchill and Stalin. However, they were all bad. It's just one of them was like on the bad scale, you know? He was so evil that he made people reconsider like the default of what to call people when people are evil. So one of them's obviously worse. But that being said, there are times when this is true, so I'm gonna just hit normal disagree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I think this question is so incredibly broad that or this like statement, not question. I think this is so incredibly broad that, you know, it really it encompasses everything, you know. That's what broad means. And with that, I'm going to hit agree. I do think there are times when military action that may be in a gray area is kind of justified, such as, you know, situations where you have an ethnic cleansing or genocide and such going on. I do think, you know, even though there might be a gray area with international law, I do think it is good to militarily police that. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I think these are both the same thing. I think information is entertainment. I think entertainment is information. But I can see the concern here, even though I think this is the exact same thing. I think this is saying the same thing twice. I can see the concern, but with that being said, strongly disagree. Information and entertainment are the same thing. You cannot be informed without somewhat being entertained. You cannot be entertained without somewhat being informed. So, whoa, hold on. Okay. All right, we're tackling the economy. Attitudes, apparently, not the index. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I'm gonna hit agree. Just because they didn't say, actually, you know, I think when they say nationality, they mean like historical race. So I'm gonna strongly agree. I do think there is a larger division based on class. That being said, it is reckless to not acknowledge the lines that are around class and race and historical nationality. I think it's incredibly reckless to not recognize that black people have a higher chance of being poor, a much higher chance of being poor, have a huge wealth disparity in comparison to white people. That being said, strongly agree here. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. To keep it real with you, inflation bad, unemployment bad. But honestly, I've been impacted less by inflation than unemployment. So I'm gonna say disagree. Both have affected me, but one's affected me a lot more. You know, having money to spend has been a lot better than having no money to spend. And I honestly, the prices going up is a temporary thing. You just gotta wait it out and hope to Jesus that it is temporary, which most of the times it is. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Strongly agree. And I don't think this goes against me saying I was a lowercase l libertarian earlier. I think this is actually one of my most libertarian tenets. I believe that corporations should be strapped down with regulation. There should be like 2 million regulations for every potentially bad thing they can do. And this maximizes freedom for the individual citizen. The fact that corporations in this hypothetical wouldn't be able to just say, okay, we're going to put 20,000 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the air, I think positively impacts freedom for the everyday person. from each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. I agree. I do think there are some sort of needs for markets. For me, I'm a market socialist mainly. Market libertarian socialist, I guess, would be the full way I would describe myself. I do believe that there should be a market for luxury goods, such as non-necessity clothing, non-necessity food, non-necessity furniture, yada yada yada. There should be some sort of market for these, or at least that's what I believe. I'm open to being proven wrong though. Hey, the freer market, the freer the people. Strongly disagree. We saw this with laissez-faire capitalism during the Gilded Age, where people were borderline slaves, and some of them fucking were slaves. So, free the market, the freer the people, hell no. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. I don't see there's anything wrong with it being bottled and branded. However, I do see the problem with making a profit off it. And with that, I'm going to say strongly disagree. I don't think water should be made a profit out of. I think it should be sold, without profit. Good time for a water break. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I'm going to hit agree. I do think land in small... I do think like buying a house, that's technically buying land. So houses are fundamentally commodities. I do think there is something wrong with housing being a commodity. So honestly, no, I'm gonna hit strongly agree. The more I talk myself through some of these points, the more I'm like, hey, I'm kind of convincing myself here. But hey, we're hitting strongly agree. Houses shouldn't be commodities. However, again, like I said earlier, luxury housing, non-necessity housing should be somewhat a commodity. It should not be as expensive as it is, but it should still somewhat be a commodity. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by Okay, cool, man. Fuck, dude. Awesome, man. Awesome. Let's see what this one says. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Strongly agree. I don't think I got to explain this one. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Let me get an exact definition of protectionism. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. I just want to make sure, business student, the theory or practice of shielding a country's domestic industries from foreign competition by taxing imports. Okay. I'm gonna talk as a business student real quick. Strongly disagree. However, the circumstances that lead businesses to seeing overseas labor, some child labor, some sweatshop labor, is highly unethical. That being said, I'm not a big fan of protectionism. I think these are two entirely separate things. I believe that if we are in a trade-based market, a capitalist market, protectionism is bad. However, if we are in a socialist, more communist, left-leaning market where its necessities are given out for free, stuff like that, I do believe protectionism would be a decent kind of gray thing. It would be highly understandable. However, in our current world state, I do think protectionism is bad. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Strongly disagree. As I said earlier, companies should have like 20 million different hoops that they have to jump through to do things bad. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. Oh, no. Strongly disagree. Come on now. The rich are the least proportionally taxed people in the world. They need to be taxed more. As you get richer, the cost of living per proportion of your paycheck gets to be less. When you are poor, you live paycheck to paycheck. Like, let's say you get $2,000 a month. Let's say you have a very cheap apartment. So say like in my area, 700 or so would be a cheap apartment. So let's say you spend $700 a month on rent. Let's say you have car insurance. Let's say you have like USAA. Let's say you have really good car insurance. That's still damn expensive depending on the car you have. I'm gonna look up my car and let's see how much the insurance is. Nissan Altima, USAA rates. Now I already know what my insurance rate is, but I just want to give like a sort of feel for y'all. So let's see, get a quote. Am I just gonna put my, no, I'm not putting all this in, but let's say average insurance rate on a sedan. Let's say, since we're doing hypotheticals in Texas, let's see. So I got one car. Let's say I'm gonna do just the average of what I see, maybe about like 2013. Let's say it's a Chevy, an American-made car. Let's say it is an Impala, a pretty standard sedan. So let's see. Let me just do all this real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna do this answering as myself. Nope. I'm gonna do this as myself again. Oh my god. Okay. Let's just say it's $60. Fuck, dude. That's $760. Then you have a phone bill. Let's say that is $30 a month. So you're at $790 now. Let's say you have to get groceries, and let's say you're paying for 2 people. So let's say you're living with somebody, you're paying for 2 people. That would be maybe about $300 a month, assuming that you go for like kind of cheap goods. So let's say $300 a month. So that's 1,000. That's 1,100. Let's just round up. That's 1,100. And let's say you got a college debt. That's a pretty penny off too. Let's say that's $200. So you're at $1,300. And I think you're starting to get my point here. These fees for living are much less for the rich, so they should be taxed more. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of Medicare. Strongly disagree. Medical care should be a flat thing for everybody, and it should be the same rate for everybody, except for, actually I take that back. It should be proportional, it should be taxed proportional to the person's income. However, it should all be a flat thing. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Strongly agree. Lying is bad, and lying as a business is even worse. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Again, I'm gonna strongly agree. I'm gonna talk as a business student here. Assuming that we're working under a free market scheme, which is the assumption we're making here, it is imperative that we do not have monopolies. Because if we have monopolies, the price rises, but also wages drop. Historically, monopolized companies, monopolized markets, they will slash wages, they'll lay people off, do all that shit, because who are you gonna go to? Who are you gonna go to? So, speaking as a business student, strongly agree, a genuine free market requires restrictions. And I think we've learned that after the Gilded Age. Alright, social values. We're getting spicy. Abortion when a woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal. Abortion is good. Abortion is a heavy thing. It is an unfortunate thing. I don't think anybody is going out and, scrolling down from this ad and saying, I want to get an abortion today. Yes, abortion time. I don't think anyone's saying that. That being said, people should be allowed to get them. You know, it's their bodies, their choice. All authority should be questioned. Strongly agree. If you do not know why a person has authority over you, I think you are misled. I think you're ignorant. You should know why a person has authority over you, whether it's seniority or whether it's, you know, they're hardworking, you know, or they're democratically voted. You should know why people are above you, and you should question it if you're in the opportunity to question it. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Strongly disagree. You know, I've said it before. I believe in rehabilitative justice. I think it's the best outcome for both people, and multiple studies and history backs me up on this one. I think this is a bad tenet to have, and it is a vindictive tenet to have, and being vindictive is kind of bad. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Strongly agree, or strongly disagree. Hold on. You might have known of a thing called the New Deal. You know, it's a pretty good thing. The New Deal, you know, pretty good. It made jobs. It made living in America more attractive. It made public works stuff. And I think that would not have happened if we were living under the tenet of these public works projects cannot commercially survive. It's unfortunate that they wouldn't be able to survive on their own. However, you know, I would personally be willing to pay a tax for having a museum in my district. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think it's a very, very, very useful thing to have for, you know, historical longevity, historical preservation, and just, you know, the significance of an area in general. I think they are incredibly important, and that goes for parks, theaters as well. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I'm gonna hit disagree. Obviously, there are some circumstances where this would make sense, such as rural communities, where, if we're being honest, you just can't make it to class every day. In rural communities, this makes more sense. However, generally in suburban communities and city urban communities, this doesn't make sense. So I am gonna hit the general disagree. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. That basically is the segregation question. Strongly disagree. I am anti-segregation. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly disagree. Again, I am pro rehabilitation, rehabilitative justice. This comes in children to pause. Oh, fuck, dude. What a clip. But yeah. Fuck, dude. Oh, I just had a Vosh moment. Damn it. Good parents sometimes have to spank their kids. Strongly disagree. Rehabilitative justice, you know, that goes for everyone, including kids. It is natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Strongly agree. I do this. Every kid does this. It's natural. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly agree. Possessing any drug for recreational use isn't, or personal use. It shouldn't be a criminal offense. You know, legalize all drugs. It's pretty, I hate it because the political discussion around it is so cringe. However, I do think it is a good thing to legalize all drugs. The prime function of schooling should be equip the future generation to find jobs. Assuming, well, when we're talking schooling, we mean generally. I'm going to hit agree, but I'm going to say this under the assumption that we are working within the capitalist market. However, I do think there are a lot of good functions to schooling that aren't just helping people finding jobs, such as history, science. Well, science helps people find jobs, but you know what I mean. Knowing history is important, stuff like that. knowing how to read text is important, knowing how to do basic physical things is important, knowing how to keep yourself healthy is important. And I think schools should teach these, and most of them do. I think these are good things, but they don't necessarily prepare you for a job. People with serious and heritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Now, man, okay. I'm not going to strongly disagree here. Eugenics, to an extent, is decent. What do I mean by this, Tay? What do you mean by this? Are you pro eugenics? Not necessarily. However, when people are informed that, hey, your fetus has the Down syndrome, your fetus will be born with 3 arms, 0 legs, and 7 heads, I do think they should have the ability and the right to terminate the pregnancy if they are not prepared to take care of a kid like that. However, I do believe that kid has the right to exist. However, the parents should have the ability to practice eugenics in that facet. And that goes for people with serious disabilities as well. If their child is born with a serious disability, they should know. They should be prepared for it. So I am going to disagree in the general case. I'm speaking generally. However, in the edge cases, that is why I don't hit strongly disagree. And I think people who say they are 1000% anti-eugenics are liars, and they just don't know what eugenics is. However, the term eugenics is pretty cringe. So the most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Discipline is good. It's not the end all be all. Disagree. I don't really think I have to say anything more there. It's not the end all be all. Discipline is a good tenet for me. It's done a lot for me in life. However, not the end all be all. It's not the most important thing. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. I'm going to hit agree. However, I'm not going to hit strongly disagree. I do think that the myth of the sort of noble native is a bit of a myth. A lot of these people were, for lack of a better word, kinda a little like savage. And man, I wish I knew a better word, because that's a bad word. But for lack of a better word, a lot of these people were very skeptical of these more civilized people. However, I do not believe that there is anything wrong with being savage, just like as I do not believe there's anything wrong with being civilized. It is a choice that is made. I don't think there's anything wrong with the North Sinhalese. I don't think there's anything wrong with how they live. I believe that they should be allowed to live their lives as they are living them right now. I think the people trying to project their civilized lives onto them are incredibly in the wrong. However, I can also acknowledge the fact that the North Sinhalese are pretty savage. So I'm going to hit strongly agree. However, the, framing here is kind of cringe. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I disagree. Actually, I'm going to strongly disagree. Society should support people, because it's been proven that when people have access to these basic amenities, that they are more likely to work and have a fulfilling work life. So, strongly disagree. When you're troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Strongly disagree. I think it should be pretty obvious on why we did disagree on this. So, first generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I'm gonna hit agree. However, again, edge cases is why I don't hit strongly agree. I do think the great majority of first generation immigrants will probably never be able to integrate into a new place fully. However, there are a minority that can. So I'm going to hit agree. What's good for most successful corporations are always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree. I think I've been over this in my previous responses to these questions, in my previous answers. I don't think I have to explain myself here. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly disagree. Public funding is good. PBS is good. People should have access to PBS, and the BBC is pretty good as well. People should have access to the BBC. So I'm gonna hit strongly disagree. And before we hit this next page, I'm gonna take a water break. I'm out of water. Shit. Alright. So, our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I'm gonna strongly agree. We can see this in stuff like, what was it called? The bill, I think it was called the Liberty Bill or something, ironically enough. Where, Obama was like, I'm going to spy on people. I think that was bad, and I think it was our civil liberties being curbed in the name of counterterrorism. A significant advantage of a one-party system is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. This is objectively true. It does avoid the arguments that delay progress in a democratic system. See, the problem with this is in feudalism. In a feudalistic state, which we don't exist in anymore. However, in these states, there would be barons, stuff like that would answer to the king, that would answer to, like, the Dane, I think it was. Barons would answer to the Dane would answer to the king. I'm pretty sure that's right. It might be Dane answers to barons. However, this is very slow in comparison to just the king being like, okay, we're gonna throw our troops at Denmark. So I'm gonna hit agree. However, I do, that being said, believe in a democratic political system and a democratic economic system as well. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. Surveillance, we should all be worried about it. So, and I don't really think I need to explain myself. Surveillance bad. There are certain things that we gain from surveillance. However, I do think generally it is a bad thing. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly disagree. As I said earlier, I am pro reform. I am pro reformative justice. I don't like retribution. It's cringe. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Strongly disagree. As I said earlier, I am a socialist. I believe fundamentally in an economic state where people are, democratically elected. As I said, maybe 5 seconds ago, I do not think that there is any utility whatsoever to having a obey command sort of feedback loop between you and the higher up, quote unquote, because that is how feudalism works. That is how slavery works, and I'm not a fan of either of them. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Strongly disagree. Everything is art. Art is art because it says it's art. That's it. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. I've said this multiple times already. Don't feel like I gotta explain it anymore. That being said, it is a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals. I agree. However, this does not mean that we shouldn't try. We shouldn't attempt to. But I do think that prisoners that shove off rehabilitation should be provided with resources just the same as the prisoners who actually want rehabilitation. So I'm going to hit agree. I'm not going to hit strongly disagree. Yeah. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Strongly disagree. They're equally important. Arguably, the writer and the artist would make longer lasting work, so they'd probably be more important even. You know, businesses come and go, art stays forever. Ideally, some of it is, you know, lost. That's unfortunate. However, great art stays forever. Great businesses rise and fall. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Strongly disagree. I think this is sexist. Fathers can do it too, same way mothers can. It is important to take care of your child. However, it's not necessarily the mother that has to do it. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Strongly agree. Africa, places like Africa, are mineral and resource-wise the richest continent on the planet. Europe is not richer. Saudi Arabia and that Middle Eastern area aren't richer. Africa is the richest continent when it comes to minerals and natural resources. Therefore, it should, be the richest continent when it comes to economics. However, it is not, and that is an unfortunate reflection of the exploitation we've put onto African people. And when I say we, I mean Americans, Europeans, Asians, etc., the things that we have done to oppress them. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. No, I think I've argued for this very well in the past 4 pages, so I don't think I have to provide an argument for this. All right, we are 2 pages away from the finish. A lot of these questions are religious. They might be a little vibes based. So I'm gonna provide, what I feel like is the correct answer. Just to say up front, I am agnostic. I do believe in the possibility of a god. That being said, I do not practice religion. However, I am very open to, a god existing. So astrology accurately explains many things. Anybody who knows me in real life knows how cringe I think astrology is. I think astrology is racist. I think astrology is very just generally a bad thing. And yeah, you cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly disagree. I consider myself a pretty moral person, and I'm not religious. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Strongly disagree. However, I do want to stress that charity is a good thing. Charity is an unfortunate but good reaction to the situation that many find themselves in our economic state. Charity is a good thing, however, it shouldn't be a necessary thing. Some people are naturally unlucky. Disagree. Don't believe in luck. To say some people are naturally clumsy would be agreeable, like me. However, to say people are naturally unlucky is stupid. Don't believe in luck. Strongly disagree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Strongly disagree. I don't want my kids being groomed. All right. Now we're looking at sex. Ooh. Sorry. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly disagree. Come on now. It's pretty cringe to argue this. Sex outside marriage is based, actually. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly disagree. Some of the conservative people who watched 40 Minutes Deep, which, sucks to be you right now, but some of the conservative people who watched 40 Minutes Deep, the studies show that a 2-parent household, no matter if the parents are a mom, dad, is the best way of raising a child. A 1-parent household is an unfortunate circumstance. of, you know, a lot of things. However, a two-parent household is the best thing. Doesn't matter what gender the parents are. We've seen no studies that show that gay parents are worse at raising kids. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Strongly agree. Adult people should be able to look at tits. That's it. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree. You know, No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly disagree. We've seen many a mammal be gay. We have bisexual bonobos, we have gay wolves, we have trans lions, we have fucking transsexual clownfish. Many a mammal, many an animal have shown homosexual behavior out in the wild. It is a consequence of overpopulation, or at least it tends to be. In some cases it is not, however in wolves, that's what it is. So yeah, it is perfectly natural to be homosexual. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly disagree. If you don't want to talk about sex, you know, you're in your rights to maybe try to change the subject. However, to say that it is bad too is stupid. All right. So, let's see where I am. Again, I predicted myself as a left-wing libertarian. Let's see how close I was. Boom. Okay, man. Would you look at that? Left-wing libertarian. How did he know? So yeah, that's where I am. If you took the test alongside with me, whoa. That is not true at all. Yeah, see what I mean? It has North Korea as a far left country, which just isn't true. And it has China as a left-wing country, which again, just isn't true. So also notice how there's no left lib countries. That's pretty strange. So yeah, I'm left lib according to the political compass. Again, I do think there are some flaws with the way it's tested. I already brought this up. So yeah. If y'all like this video, you know, leave a like. If you hated it, if you think I'm cringe, you know, leave a like, because it would totally own me. But yeah, if you like this video, leave a like, yada yada yada. I'll see y'all guys next time. All right, bye.
Tell me what you're feeling, yeah. I got trouble healing, yeah. 필요한 건 오직 chillin', yeah. 난 놓아줄 수 없다면 delete me. 다들 완벽해 보이.